this is the cover which I'm talking about. So I mentioned myself. It's got a rather handsome-looking lion and Bitcoin business in a box. I look at this two ways. I got involved in Bitcoin in November 2016. And I look at it in two different ways. In one way, it's a trade. I put in $4,000, which is a small amount of money. It'll go fast, no problem at all. And over the course of the first 6 months, it rose to about $30,000. So I was very surprised. When I first got involved, I mean, I might say it was November 2016, I got an email from a colleague of mine who runs something called Cashmaster, and he was just recounting his experiences with Bitcoin over the preceding year. And what I plan to do in the first part of this presentation, if you like, is to just recount my experiences over the last 6 months or so. And in his email, he said, well, I bought these mining shares in a company called BitClub Network for $3,500. And over the course of the year, I've doubled my money. And I thought, well, I've been wanting to get involved in Bitcoin for a long time. The opportunity, I know I was very busy doing other things over the last few years, and it just didn't happen. And I got this email, I thought, well, let's look into this. So I started to investigate what was involved, and I looked at BitClub Network. I looked at the charts of Bitcoin, and I could see it was going up. And it actually had trebled in the last year at that point. And I thought, well, if I buy the mining shares, I'll be getting these Bitcoin drip fed to me over a period of months and years. In fact, the mining shares last for 1,000 days, so that's 3 years. And then I reinvest so that they keep on going. And I was sort of insulated from the price movements in the sense that if price had just collapsed the day after I bought the mining shares, I'll still be producing Bitcoin. So it didn't really bother me that much. I thought it was a nice, easy way of getting involved in it without actually just investing in the coins themselves at that point. And so it transpired. What I've actually done is, and as it says at the bottom here, my approach combines business and investment and trading to produce lion-sized profits. I only put lion-sized because of my graphic designer's picture of that rather handsome lion, and I tried to make some out of that particular image. So what I did was I bought these mining shares. I then produced a similar email to the one that my colleague produced and sent off to my clients who looked to me for suggestions on trading, etc., suggesting they also get involved in this business. Some of those did so, and I get a small commission from that, which is part of my business. Now, all of these people are delighted because when they got in back in November, Bitcoin was about $700. Over the 6-month period, my mines have produced 1 Bitcoin, which is now worth about $2,700. So you can see that if over 6 months, so 7 months, you got 1 Bitcoin at 2.7 from an investment of $3,500, then you've done fairly well. And of course, you've got another 2.5 years of this mining to continue. So it's all looking hunky-dory. That's not to say the same thing will happen over the next 12, 15 months. We'll be looking at charts of Bitcoin as we go forward, just so you can see what's happening. Now, back in March, April of this year, I started getting bombarded, and some of you may have had the same experience, by Agora Publications and their various sister organizations like Palm Beach Confidential and such like, encouraging people to invest in various cryptos. The cryptos in question, I think, were Zcash, Ethereum, and a number of other cryptos. And they were saying, as I did, put a small amount of money in this. It's worth getting involved in this. This is a bull market, and you want to have a foothold here. Now, my logic was very simple back then. I thought, well, look, if Agora is sending out thousands of emails, as they were, and Agora Publications are the biggest financial marketing company in the UK, in the world actually, they've got a big American branch as well, then they know what they're doing, that they have clients who respond to what they suggest. Money will start pouring into these cryptos. Therefore, I bought, at that point, I traded some of my Bitcoin, and I put about two to £300 in about 10 smaller cryptos. I mean, one that sticks in my mind, I have some Dogecoin. I got 1 million plus Dogecoin. They cost about £300. They went up to about £3,000 in a couple of months. Now they've slipped back a bit. But I've got Litecoin, Monero, Steam, Pink gaming tokens, and they've all done roughly the same thing. They've all gone up 10 times in that small window. One of the things I'd be quite interested in is actually how many people listening actually had some current interest in an investment in a cryptocurrency. Simon, is that something that you can just monitor? Is somebody?
Yes, I think already I can see questions that have been coming in, and a few confirmation that yes. So there's the level of questions that I'm seeing on Bitcoin suggests that people are interested in it. There is Selvin, John. Yeah, fantastic.
I mean, normally I find that very few people actually own any Bitcoin or any cryptocurrencies. So when I gave that seminar with you a few months ago, I think there were maybe 5 people in the audience out of maybe 60 or so who actually owned any cryptos, and I think this is going to drag a lot more people in, and that to me is the sort of fundamental issue that I believe suggests that we are going to see these things increase in value over time from here. I'm not saying it'll be a one-way street. Again, we'll look at that shortly. But so far, I've been just accumulating. I haven't really sold anything. I've just started this business, put some money in, money's come out. It's all in Bitcoin and other currencies, and I'm just sitting on it at the moment. Now, I'm thinking of trading it shortly because I think we might have seen a more important peak, and we could see some more violent moves coming in, but we'll take a look at that soon. But generally, very few people are actually involved, which to me is a sign of strength, because I think as more people will get involved, Agora will keep plugging away, and people will come in to this. Also, that what Agora is selling is a $3,000 report, I think, or service, $3,000 service, and people who pay $3,000 for a service are not going to be weak holders. I mean, markets collapse when there are too many people holding coin who are nervous of their position. But these people are not being nervous of their position because they won't have gone in too heavy. They'll have small positions like I have, and they just want to see that appreciate over time rather than being shaken out when they see the market plunge down. They'll probably buy more, in fact, I think.
John, if we could, before we get right into you, we might be. I think there's already I can see questions coming in. They relate to the difference, the explanation of mining these bitcoins, and
okay, I mean,
shed some light on what it means to mine.
Yes, when I say mining, these coins are mined via computer equipment. So BitClub Network are basically selling computer hardware and software. So a bit like Apple in a sense, that they'll take a profit on that. I mean, whenever you buy a computer, you have to pay a fair slice of profit. My Apple Mac, for example, Apple I'm sure made a decent slab of cash when I bought it. So when you talk about mining shares in this context, I have a share of a big computer complex, as it were, which is solving complex algorithms, and it's a contest. Bitcoin send out these algorithms. The first computer to solve the algorithm gets the Bitcoin, and this process repeats itself again and again and again until there are 21 million Bitcoin, which is the limit.
Okay, that's okay. Thank you for that.
Does that clarify that?
It's and who sets these algorithms then? Is this just the founders of Bitcoin? What are they trying to solve?
It is just a complex algorithm, and it just gets more and more difficult as the time runs out. I mean, it used to be quite easy in the early days. I met a guy last week who paid, I think, 12 Bitcoin for a pizza back in 2010. He was quite happy to have paid 12 Bitcoin for a pizza. even though that's now worth about 300,000 pounds or whatever it is. Sorry, £30,000. Yeah, but back then the algorithms were simple. You could solve them on your home computer, and they just get more and more complex, so that you now need these very sophisticated computers to solve the algorithms. It's a little bit strange. I mean, that they wanted to replicate the sort of gold experience to an extent. So they want to say, look, these things have value because people are spending money to actually mine them. And I guess it works. I mean, the only problem is that I think that Bitcoin is now using the sort of daily rate of a country like Norway to generate all these Bitcoin. Or at least it's quite substantial, although in my case, the mines are in Iceland, where there's a lot of I think it's very cheap power from the spas, etc., the heated water over there, and so they keep the cost down to a minimum. But it's quite a huge endeavour now. I mean, it's getting more and more complicated. Bigger, faster computers are needed, and it's left the home computer far behind.
Okay. Well, Jay, the questioner says, Jacobadia, thank you, much clearer. What happens after 21 million coins are created? Is this the upper limit? The coins will then be finite, and hence the value will be guaranteed long term. I guess that's true.
I think the feeling was, and I mean exactly why there's that limit, I'm not 100%. I'm not sure anybody's 100% sure already. But once there are 21 million Bitcoin, and if the price is say $50,000 per coin, then that's about 1,000 billion in total value. I think the feeling was that it was enough. It was enough to make Bitcoin a viable world currency. And the big fear was that Bitcoin would go the same way as a fiat currency, where supply is endless. And if you watch that video which Simon sent out, you'll see the chart of the Roman denarius as an example, whereby in I think AD 56, the Roman denarius had 100% of silver content, and then 200 years later, it had less than 1% of silver content. And that is the way that the Romans caused hyperinflation, in effect. And that then led to the fall of the Roman Empire, or this is one of the symptoms of the fall of the Roman Empire. And there are endless charts now showing the dollar, euro, sterling, following the same path as the Roman denarius. I mean, the Romans may have been the first, probably weren't, and probably every civilization. I think it's a sort of natural trend of human activity that we always push things too far. So that getting a mortgage to buy a house is something that I certainly benefited from hugely, and probably many of my listeners have as well. But every time you do that, you're putting more money into the system. Now that's okay, but it's too much of a good thing, and we sort of drown it eventually. And I think the currency situation now is becoming a little bit dire, really. And I mean, I think a stat was that $1 in 1971 is now worth 3 cents, and that really is quite damaging to the whole structure of the society.
Okay, Tina and Rob, sorry, don't understand this. Don't worry, I'm very close to not understanding it myself. I think we still need a lot of education about this. There's a lot of questions coming in, just saying, does this correlate to anything else? Salvan's asking, what about gold or tech stocks? Is there any correlation between Bitcoin that you've seen and other commodities?
Well, certainly if you take a stock like, I think NVIDIA, they both peaked recently on the same day. You got the same sort of hyperbolic growth rates. And so you can see similarities. Let me just switch to a chart of Bitcoin. I mean, to me, it's just a store of value. I mean, if you take a gold coin, then that has a value, but that value is based on opinion, human opinion. Now, Bitcoin is an idea, but it is the same thing as gold in the sense that the value of Bitcoin is based on human opinion. And currently, 1 Bitcoin is worth a lot more than 1 ounce of gold. Not that there's really, I mean, I guess there is a relationship between the two, but it's not a direct relationship. And certainly, Bitcoin was worth a lot less than 1 ounce of gold. It's now worth a lot more than 1 ounce of gold. And that shows how it works. But it's an idea. It is. I can understand you're having trouble grasping that as an idea. You just have to accept, in a way. I mean, obviously, you don't have to accept anything, but if you want to get involved in this business, then you need to understand that it is. Well, it's not, actually, it's like a bank statement. If you see your bank statement, that's digital currency. If you're in the US, I was told that if everybody in the US tried to get their cash out of their bank, it would take 30 years to print the notes to allow them to do that. Now, it's fairly definite that before too long there'll be cryptocurrencies instead of the notes we have at the moment. I think that's an idea that's bound to happen, and that we'll have Fed coin in the US, maybe pound coin in the UK, Euro coin, and it'll be the same kind of concept as Bitcoin, but it will be government controlled. So the supply, I think, won't be limited, and they'll just do the same again, just print. Well, they don't even need to print, will they? They'll just need to add more numbers to a statement, and the currency will just carry on going down. Whereas Bitcoin keeps going up because it's got that finite supply. But yeah, it's not. It's a concept. I can't explain it any better, really. It's something that it's a fact. It's a fact. It's rather like the Earth goes around the sun. It's a fact.
I guess my sort of cynical side would say, well, they said 21 million bitcoins, but we've seen things. Who's to say that will be the finite limit once they.
Well, there's no way of changing that. I mean, and it's not the same with the other cryptos. So at the moment, we have a 2-horse race. The crown is which cryptocurrency will become the most accepted, the most reliable, etc., etc. And currently, we have a 2-horse race between Ethereum and Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And Bitcoin was leading the field by a long way. They're both about 30 billion currently market capitalization, i.e. the total value of all the Bitcoins around. Bitcoin's about 34 million. I think Ethereum is about 25 million. It varies on a day-to-day basis. But Ethereum is possibly going to overtake Bitcoin. The general feeling is that Ethereum is a better technology. But I've been told Bitcoin have the better team. So the people who actually work in Bitcoin, I'm told, are mainly geniuses, and they're very, very good at what they do. Ethereum have the edge maybe in what they've achieved, the way they set it up, but the team isn't quite as good as I understand it. That's pretty unfair. They're probably both excellent, actually, but Bitcoin may have the slight edge.
Selvas just asked the question, it was on my lips as well. How do you actually invest in the cryptocurrency? How do you go about actually buying it?
Okay, let me just switch to my module 2. I'm writing this course, I said, Bitcoin Business in a Box. So module 2 is the mechanics, create your wallet, how to buy Bitcoin, how to buy mining shares. There's a risk warning here, which I think is very important. So we're not trying to assist anything. It's just about education, telling you what's available, and so you can make your own decision, which I think is a very important thing in any trading endeavor. You need to know why you're there. Some history. You may have seen this in June 2011, Forbes wrote, so that's the end of Bitcoin then. 2015, Bitcoin's headed to the ash heap. May 2017, the death of Bitcoin. So since 2011, Bitcoin's been declared dead 135 times. Every time they've been wrong, and it's just gone from strength to strength. Let me see, there's a... Okay, Bitcoin wallet. First you need a wallet to put your Bitcoin into. So I use a blockchain, and that is the URL. You just go there, it's a very simple site. You just sign in like any other site, open your wallet, and then you have somewhere to put your Bitcoin. In fact, now you can buy Bitcoin on that site. So that's your one stop for buying your Bitcoin. Now, personally, I then went to BitClub Network. I bought $4,000 worth of Bitcoin at the time. Well, actually, the price hasn't changed. So this is BitClub Network. Sign up, have a look at the site, see what you think, as it were. So I'm not trying to sell anything here. I'm just trying to make you aware of what's available. And then I go to a website called Poloniex, which I'm going to switch to. There. And Poloniex is an exchange. It's a place where you can buy and sell up to about 20-30 currencies. And hopefully a chart will appear in the next few seconds, which will be a chart of Bitcoin. Again, something called US dollar tether. US dollar tether is a cryptocurrency, but it's linked to the US dollar. And Poloniex only deals in cryptocurrencies. You can't access it with any kind of fiat currency. So most of these sites are the same. In fact, they only work with cryptos, and so hence the need for US dollar tether, which it provides a sort of measure of the value of all of these currencies. So you've got Bitcoin here. You've got Ethereum. Let me just Litecoin. That one, Zcash, Dash, I think that's Stellar. Anyway, you have all these different coins, and that's the current chart of Bitcoin over the last month, last couple of weeks, I think. Let me just check. The chart's quite interesting, in fact, because we've seen, I use a wave theory, as I mentioned before, so I'm often guided by technicals as to what I actually do, and from this peak here, we have a move down, which I count as a fourth wave, then have a 5-wave advance. Elliott wave theory looks at advance in 5 waves. I think that could be a 5th wave. We then had an A, B, C, which could be a complete correction. This is it's uncertain. And the reason I'm thinking of trading at the moment is I would short Bitcoin with a view to seeing it perhaps fall back down to there. In fact, this is about $1,000. I mean, it's quite volatile stuff. As I say, because I mine shares, I'm not too fussed, whereas in the short term, because I just keep my Bitcoin, and I think the long-term trend is up. But I think we could see another leg down here, but support's around here, and that is where I think we'd find a floor. But certainly, there could be a good trade at the moment there from the current levels. I'll be looking to see what happens. That's my next task, is to monitor the trading situation. And you can see charts like this on all of the coins on this website, and they're like any other chart. I mean, they are any other chart. They're just the same price movements. It's just that this chart here, if you look at the figures we're seeing, it would take a stock a year to trade that way, whereas Bitcoin does it all in a couple of weeks, which is, from a trading point of view, is quite interesting, because obviously you get a year's movement in a couple of weeks. Then that can be excellent, because basically traders want volatility, and you can't really beat this volatility.
So, John, when you go to sell your Bitcoin, you're selling it on this exchange, this Poloniex.
Yes, I sell Bitcoin and I exchange them so I transfer Bitcoin from my wallet, into Poloniex. I then use my Bitcoin to buy. If I want to switch this, can make this actually work. So if I go to Dogecoin, which isn't on this one, everything's a bit slow at the moment, I think.
So, is it that you have there's a sort of exchange rate? Do you exchange it for different real currencies then?
You can do. I haven't done that because I've been maintaining my position, but you certainly can take your money out of Bitcoin and go back into a fiat currency, dollars or whatever it is, or sterling, whatever you feel like. Mm-hmm. That's something you can do. I haven't done that because I think firstly it's a trade. It's a small trade. Okay, it's grown from $4,000 to about $40,000 over 7 or 8 months. So I believe in running my profits, and so far it's just been very surprising profits. I was expecting to maybe double my money every year, that was my anticipation when I got involved in this back in November. Instead of which I've actually gone through 3 doubles in 6-7 months. So it's astounded me what's actually happened. I mean, I had no idea that Dogecoin and the rest would go up 10 times in a couple of months. And I think those gains are going to be around. They may not happen in the next, say, 3 or 4 months, but I think we do fall back. Then there might be a bit of a period of settlement, whatever. But I think that this will continue, is my view, because mainly because so few people are actually involved at the moment.
Okay, Eric asks you, what will happen if Bitcoin splits into 2 currencies come August the 1st? Eric must be up on this more than I am. I believe there must be something happening on August the 1st.
Yeah, there is a problem with the blockchain in the sense that the size of the blockchain has got so big now that it's becoming quite sluggish to update it every time a transaction goes through, which is how the blockchain works. And there are 2 proposals. I think one is called Bitcoin Unlimited, whereby what I would expect is that every holder of Bitcoin will receive equal amounts of the 2 new coins. You'd end up with having, say you got 5 Bitcoin, you'd now end up with 5 Bitcoin Unlimited and 5 Bitcoin whatever else it might be, and they will then be freely traded, and they will then find their own levels. I mean, there are various suggestions. I'm not totally au fait with what's the latest suggestion is. I'm more interested in what actually happens at the later date, as it were. But that's my understanding of how it'll work, and that could be a very good thing. You choose for Bitcoins. They might both end up where they are now. It depends on the actual structure and exactly what actually happens is obviously the key thing.
Interesting. One of our attendees, Selvan, is saying that there is a tracker that you can access through Hargreaves XBT provider AB Bitcoin tracker with the euro. So there's another way.
I've also heard it's very expensive. I've heard that you're paying quite a big premium to join that, and there seems to be no reason to do that. So I haven't explored that any further. It doesn't sound like a very good idea. But because why pay a premium when you can get Bitcoin directly without the premium? It seems to me that premium may well vanish going forwards because it seems to be no reason for it. It just seems to be a rather an expensive way of doing it.
In view of everyone losing all their crypto money they had in trust with Mt. Gox, asked Richard, where is the safest place to hold crypto wallets?
Well, I think blockchain. I mean, I've got some wallets on my phone, some on my computer. I've also got a hardware wallet, which I've yet to actually get around to using. So I think they're pretty safe. I mean, Mt. Gov was an exchange that got hacked, basically, and it collapsed as a result of that. I mean, I wasn't involved at that time. And you should be careful, certainly. I mean, I don't leave any cash with BitClub, for example. I take all my Bitcoin out of there. As soon as I see sort of half a Bitcoin, which I have now, in fact, then I move it to my wallet. And I have various wallets in various places. And yes, there can be a problem. It's one of the issues here. There are a number of risks getting involved in this, but there are also, I mean, as you can see from my results and also my colleague Garen's results, there's plenty of reward, and this is why I say just put a small amount in, because it's actually a huge amount of fun. It's very interesting to see what happens, and it's also been very rewarding so far. But yeah, I expect things to go wrong from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting lots and lots of questions. Shall we go back to having a look at the presentation that you have for the moment and see if we can get back, because maybe some of these questions will be answered.
I should be stuck. Maybe that's the problem.
Just while we're doing that, question for Tracy asking, will she automatically go to the next session? This is referring to around the clock here, this webinar. Tracy, yes, you just state that we are one webinar and the speakers each come in and start on the hour every hour. So no need to log out and log back into anything else. Just stay with this one webinar.
The sharp moves. I mean, if I just put the money, given that Bitcoin trebled in value when I bought initially, I'd have done better just to buy Bitcoin, not buy the mining shares. But having said that, the mining shares have produced 1 Bitcoin, so I've got 80% back in 6 months, and I've been putting money in. I've been buying Bitcoin anyway with the cash that's been coming through from the mining and the commissions, and then bought in. So I've ended up with a fairly good holding in coin itself, and I've still got the mining shares. I also bought some Ethereum mining shares recently, so yeah, it just keeps growing really, which is what I like about it. Yeah, as I say, I think these things are here to stay. I mean, in some ways, well, Eastern mystics have sort of said for years that we're all based on energy, and that the physical plane is an illusion. The Western scientists caught up with nuclear physics 100 years ago and said, well, yes, that's right, it's all energy. And I think when we discovered electricity, I think the first, that was about year 1600, we now sort of live electronically on the internet a lot. A lot of stuff is done electronically, energetically. And it seems to me that Bitcoins actually is the currency for this evolutionary process as we move from being creatures tied to the physical world to creatures who have a much more energetic place in the universe. And I think, that's another nice sort of theories, if you like, as to why I think these things are going to grow, because they just suit the way we are moving, and the way we're moving away from the physical plane onto this energetic plane. Like this webinar, I'm sitting in a hotel in Portugal, and you're all listening to me in different places around the world, and it's all an energetic thing. And I think Bitcoin fits in rather well with that the way we now live our lives. That's probably confused everybody totally, I imagine. Anyway, just go through this. Yeah, so slightly before 4,000. After 6 months, I had 16,000. So I'd trebled my money. So I've done 2 doubles over 6 months. We'll actually do 1 a year. Now 12 months. My anticipation is that I'll have $64,000. So that's my plan. Whether I actually make that, I know I know much more than I did when I started. I knew nothing when I started. I'm basically in the position of anybody listening who has yet to take any kind of toehold in this world. I knew nothing at all. I just got an email and I just followed the suggestion, and now I've become fairly knowledgeable. There's a lot more I can learn, certainly. So I'm getting better at what I'm doing. But exactly how this is going to work, whether I can still double every 3 months, is something that I did do after 4 million 30 months. That's probably unlikely, but I think it's possible, because I think that the nature of this thing is so rapid and so fast that it could happen. Watch this space, is all I can really say. My initial heading when I mentioned this was Bitcoin, well, the idea economy, and compounding to 1 million, which I reckon would take 12 years, but it's just gone that much more quickly. So it's just an extremely interesting project, if you like. So,
John, just as a question that occurs to me, this finite level of 21 million bitcoins, you might have mentioned already, but where are we up to now in terms of how many are we standing at now, just to give us an idea of the scale?
Good question. Let me see if I can. Google it. Actually, I'll use my phone. It might be quicker.
Sorry, it's maybe not something that's.
No, it's a good question. I know that we're expected to reach that number in, I think, next 3 years or so.
Because clearly, once that number's reached, the dynamics will change.
Yeah, it will. It will.
The
mining will obviously fall by the wayside. What's going on here? It's all in this Bitcoin circulation.
Oh, Graham's come back. 17 million.
Yeah, according to this chart, there are currently 16.4 million in circulation with a limit of 21 million.
Okay, so it's quite a long way down the line already, which is okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this chart is, if I got the right one, this website's quite interesting where they have the total value. That's not right, is it? Oh, here we are. Yes, of the major, the top sort of 50 or 100 cryptocurrencies. Because I say, if you can pick one thing I'm going to do in the next project. Well, next project is looking to short Bitcoin if I see the right kind of signal. But here's the market cap. So Bitcoin is 43 million currently. Let me just put this arrow thing on. So that's 43 million. Ethereum is 30 million. There's a big gap down to Ripple, 11 million. And then Litecoin goes down to 2. So there's only 3 really with above 10. So that's 10 billion. 10 billion. And actually Ethereum did split at one point. So you have Ethereum Classic, and you have Ethereum, the new one. And then you got all the smaller coins, and it's possible that one of the newer smaller coins could in fact dominate the whole market in 5 years' time. And if you can spot that smaller coin, then you could make that would see again huge growth. My answer to that is just to buy a bit of everything. So I've got a bit of all these coins, and if I can get down a bit. It's going a bit slowly for some reason. Anyway, it's a site worth looking at, and okay, well, there you go. So at the bottom, you've got Nexium at 23 million, but even that, the 100th biggest coin is market cap of 23 million, and you got charts here. So I mean, just putting say $50 in something like that could see. I mean, it could just become worth nothing, but you get one that goes somewhere, and a lot of these are trying hard. A lot of them have good stories and good rationale for their existence, and I just tend to go to Wikipedia and research each one I buy before I buy it. Have a look at the website, have a look at what they're saying, have a look at the charts to see whether they're worth some investment. I'll just sell some Bitcoin and buy some whatever it is I think might be worth buying. One coin doesn't appear because it hasn't got a market cap because it seems to have no value. There's no trades based on it, so it's hard to make a case for it really. I will just show you the bid offer spread on Poloniex because it's quite interesting. If I can actually get things to move. It seems to get slower and slower. Any more questions while I'm trying to get this back to where I started from?
Can you hedge against the price movement with Bitcoin? For example,
on this side here.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is that? I can just get down a bit. I'll show you. I mean, you can freely trade this on this site. So here we go. And underneath, where you can't, but at the bottom of the screen, they're all the bid offer spreads. Which is quite okay. Well, so you have all these people bidding and trying to buy and sell on this very active exchange, which I think is very encouraging. I mean, it does show that you have this depth of market, which is one of the key determinants of a sort of free open market, is to see good depth. And you have a fairly tight spread, not hugely tight, but people are bidding 2586 and offering to sell at 2588 with some quite good size there. Not huge, but quite good. The Bitcoin Ethereum exchange actually is more active, but I'm having trouble jumping around. So you can actually you also have you can trade on margin on this site. You need to deposit some Bitcoin on the site, and then you can sell on margin just like you can on a spread betting site. So I haven't done that yet, but it's something I'm planning to do in the near future.
Okay.
Possibly today actually, but it depends how it goes.
I think that answers Chris's question. Can John recommend a site where Bitcoin can be converted into sterling or dollar?
I haven't actually tried to do that. I know it can be done, but I haven't done it as yet. So I think it would be easy. I think you just need to Google. Let's have a look. Sell Bitcoin for sterling. Okay, buy and sell Bitcoin in the UK, local Bitcoins. Actually, I did buy my original Bitcoin through local Bitcoins. I put through a $500 transaction initially, just to test the system. And I put down through a $3,500 transaction once I was happy with the way it worked. And I was just taking care. We are pioneers, or I'm a pioneer. I think things aren't as smooth, but then there are fantastic gains. So it's a matter of taking the rough with the smooth. But certainly on local Bitcoins, there are people who both buy and sell for sterling or for any other currency, in fact. And one of the advantages actually of Bitcoin is you can transfer it. You can use your pounds to buy Bitcoin. Then you're traveling to Europe, you can buy euro with your Bitcoin and save a lot of various costs you get charged by the banks, etc. For example,
you can't read that. I think you're talking about localbitcoins.com.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah, let's see it. Okay. Graham's asking just about your investment in Bitcoin. It says on your initial £4,000 investment, has there been any further money added every month?
Yes, I get cash comes in all the time.
So you're adding to the investment?
Oh no, I've never had it. No, I think I may have bought some Ethereum for £100. Although I got my brother to do that, and he's currently snaffled the Ethereum. So it was something I did, but he seems quite happy with holding on at the moment, which is fine by me. So, but otherwise, it's all been done via. Everything's grown from the initial $4,000.
Excellent. Why not, Richard says, why not the expansion of the total numbers of all the crypto coins is not the same as the fiat QE?
Well, I suppose well, firstly, they're all very small. We haven't got the same kind of scale we have in the fiat currencies. Bitcoin. I mean, the interesting point, if Bitcoin gets worth more and more and more, I suppose in a sense you're expanding the supply, but it's not the supply is going up. It's actually the people who have it. I mean, savers, for example. If you're a saver in the UK, then you're getting hit with no interest on your money, getting hit with the currency going down, depreciating. If you're holding Bitcoin, that doesn't happen. And if the thing gets more and more valuable, then as a saver, you're benefiting. So it's completely the opposite of the problem with fiat currency. So yeah, as the price increases, there is in effect more supply. But there's people who are saving money who are benefiting from that. But also, you probably get a bit of both actually, because the more money there is in the system, the more value there is in the system, the more people will tend to lend that money out, I think. Because you can on Poloniex, you can actually lend out your Bitcoin, I think at 0.1% per day, I think it is. So that's 1% every 10 days, or 3% a month. So that's something you can do that already. I haven't done that, but it's something you can do.
Tina says, countries like India are now accepting Bitcoin as a viable currency.
Well, it is. I mean, it does hold its value. It's trusted. You can see the trades being done on Poloniex. You can see the bid offer spread. You can see the size, and that was just one example. I mean, I haven't actually looked at the US Tether before, particularly, but it is the only one in a fiat currency, as it were. But you have that kind of spread, those kind of bid offers on all the 20 odd currencies that they quote on Poloniex. So there's good, there is a good, and when you see that, when you see an exchange with a number of bids and offers in existence, then you know it's a fair price.
Richard said yes, but there are many types and will be more types of cryptocurrencies, Ethereums, etc., which will devalue the concept of bitcoins.
That will, sorry, devalue?
Devalue the concept. The more cryptocurrencies that come online, Richard's saying, will they devalue the whole concept of the Bitcoin?
No, I mean, if you take OneCoin, I mean, I don't know for sure that OneCoin is going to go FUT or what it might do, but let's say it goes FUT for this, say the argument. Well, that's not going to hit Bitcoin at all. I mean, it's just something that came along. I mean, you always, in every system that human beings are involved in, there will be some people who will try and abuse that system. I think that's. I mean, you have the Ponzi schemes and investments. I forget the name of the guy who went to prison. Maddox, was it? Bernie Maddox. Every scheme, every arena of human environment, there are people who try and twist the rules and bend the rules. And these are all human beings buying cryptocurrencies, and it's no different. Bitcoin's been set up in a very sure way. I think it's fair to say. I think it's very difficult to change what's been done. It's still the test of time since, I think, 2010, as I recall. So we've had 7 years of this, and it's had some pretty difficult moments. But it is generally accepted now as being a good investment, and certainly it's been good from my perspective. And I trust the structure, and people trust it. I mean, I wouldn't put a huge amount of money, as I said before. I think it's a personal decision, but personally, my suggestion is a small investment makes sense. And buying the mining shares, and you have 3 years of output or whatever it is, and that's proven quite a safe investment in the sense that that's what's happened over the last 7 months for me, and the last year and a half for Graham. Or you can buy the coin. You buy the coin, you're obviously subject to the price changes that will take place, and they can be quite savage. If you bought at the top at about $3,000 and now it's at 2.6, that's not so bad. But it was, it did go from 2.7 down to 1.7 in a couple of days. So you have to be quite careful in what you do. But that's why I prefer the mining shares, really. But if you want to trade it and monitor the charts and use stop losses, that's another way of getting involved whilst limiting your risk.
It's interesting. John, I've just noticed the time. We're about 8 to 9 minutes from 11 o'clock. Mentioned on the title of your presentation, you wanted to talk a little bit about gold and silver. We obviously spent almost all the time on Bitcoin. Can you make some comments on gold and silver? Anybody that was tuning in specifically for those commodities?
Yes, I mean, we just started a new service, which is time price analysis. GDX is an ETF which covers a lot of gold mining stocks, and the new service pinpointed a low on GDX on Tuesday, in fact, and we actually got low on Wednesday, and we're anticipating a rally now into mid-August. So now is a good time to get involved in GTX. Personally, I have gold coins. I have a number of gold stocks in my SIP. I spread bet gold and silver, and I own the ETFs both directly and via spread betting with IG Index. Again, my view is similar, I suppose, to Bitcoin in the sense I believe we're in a bull market that will continue. I think we're going to see some of that come in the next 6 weeks or so, and after that we're expecting a bit of a pullback with a substantial rally, maybe starting in November this year into next year, which will take out the previous highs, I think. Not all the highs, but the high we saw a couple of years ago, around 1900 as I recall. So I pretty much in gold and silver in every way I can think of. And if anybody wants anything else, I'll happily consider, because I think it's a good place to be. It's been a bit frustrating this year so far. As I say, I'm expecting on the basis of our analysis that it should be going up again. Well, it's already, in fact, but it's been slowish so far. Any precise questions on gold and silver?
Does anybody have any specific gold and silver questions? I mean, the Bitcoin is definitely something that everybody is, either scratching our heads or very enthusiastic. I can sense just from the message box here today that there's a healthy degree of skepticism.
Well, that's certainly healthy. I mean, I think the key thing is be skeptical, but act. I mean, it's right to be skeptical, but don't be so skeptical that you do nothing, because that's I think not the best way to be. But I think being skeptical is I'm very skeptical. I can assure you. But I've obviously had the experience now, so I've my initial skepticism got me to go into the mining shares. And I've been testing ever since, really, and it's all been good. But so skepticism is good, but it's you mustn't let your skepticism stop you doing stuff that you perhaps ought to be doing.
Don't let it paralyze you. So in terms of going for further information, just to email you at the moment. I see you're putting that.
Yeah, I'll put my email address on the for that email address. There is this course. It's £47. Well, that's a special offer for this presentation. 8 modules setting out what I've done, how to do it, all that kind of stuff. There's also, I can send you links and stuff. If you're interested, just drop me a line and I'll send you a reply, and you can do what you feel like doing.
Putting John's email address there in the chat box, and of course, if you want, just contact me, and I'll certainly put you in touch with John as well if you don't get time to scribble that email address down. Oh, interesting. Now, just a final question that are starting to come through. Jacopedia is saying, physical gold or silver or ETFs, what would you say is the best way to be investing?
We'll avoid the 3 times ETFs, which have been described as junk, and I think that's probably an exaggeration, but the problem with these 3 times ETFs is that they are forced to use derivatives, and there's a big sort of wastage factor. So the only way to use those is if you're expecting action if you've got, well, we have this time price analysis, so my colleague is in one of those ETFs because he's expecting action in the next few weeks. But unless you've got some reason to expect solid action, avoid those. I've got both. I think there's a case for a bit of everything, really, which is why I've got. It's nice to have the coins. You can buy, I think, bullion by post. You can buy silver coins, £15 or thereabouts. You can buy gold coins about £1,000, or you can buy the smaller ones. I find the only problem is that they make very good gifts for one's relatives. And my supply keeps diminishing for this reason. But the coins are nice to have, and if there ever is some kind of horrible crisis, they may be quite useful. I mean, I guess if things get so bad that the cash machines close down like they did in Greece, or I believe Cyprus, then having some gold coins is not a bad thing.
Okay. Final word maybe to Gordon, or final question, comment. He's heard a rumor that the government are going to be issuing a US Fed coin, which will be enabling them to control it. Will this?
Yes, no, I'm sure. I would be amazed if they don't. I mean, if it gets to the point where, as I said earlier, if Americans want their money out of the banks, it will take 30 years to print that currency, and given all the costs of maintaining a paper currency, and given the aspects of control, you'd have a cryptocurrency if you were the US government. I'm surprised they haven't done it already, actually. But whether you want your currency to be controlled by the US government is something that needs to be thought about, I think.
Okay, fantastic.
I mean, the commodity or payments, obviously, for example.
They will. They'll be watching. They're watching and listening. Okay, Tom. Hopefully we'll have to leave it there. We can let you get back to your holiday. I know you've interrupted your break to come and join us today, and I'm really grateful.
Well, hoping people have found it interesting and useful, and thank you for the opportunity, Simon. It's always good to
It certainly is.
do these things.